Let me see here. Where is it? I'm looking. Here we go. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and upload the last replay of the night between eXeA Tydrokos and a barcode player who elected to go as a Zerg. By the way, I'm sorry I didn't go ahead and start the recording at a loading screen. Alright. I'm a little curious to see how this game unfolds, as it is another ZVP, or PVZ, however you choose to look at it, from whose perspective it may be. But here we go in the lower right hand corner, spawning as our blue Zerg. It's a barcode. And in the upper left hand corner, we have eXeA's very own Tydrokos. You know, is this just me, guys, or do we seem to like really get lost in the mystique of a barcode player? I mean, I know I do. It's that feeling of thinking, okay, am I facing off against a pro, or am I just facing off against, you know, a guy who is trying to pose as a pro? But nonetheless, we have Tydrokos going for what appears to be a Forge Fast Expand opener. If not, we could just call it a SimCity opener, if you will. The Forge Fast Expand is, of course, the 9 times out of 10 build that we see with the forward pylon, because the cannon goes down to prevent any links from entering the main and the natural. By the way, if you guys would so kindly just go ahead and click on the subscribe button. It is that red icon that is floating to the right of the screen. It should be highlighted now and throughout the entire game. Alternatively, you could just exit out. And of course, we have the spawning pool going down. I think this was, you know, I'm not sure if this was a 15. I think this was a 15 pool. 14 is relatively safer, but of course 15 is designed to be more economic, if you will. Looks like we had a slight misclick here from the barcode player. And this barcode player did not elect to play random. He was actually Zerg from the start, if you guys were paying attention to the loading screen. But nonetheless, presently we just don't know who he is. No, I mean, there was one time I was playing a ZVZ against a barcode player, and, you know, the guy was gold ranked, top of his league, and I was diamond top 8, and he ended up totally smoking me. He had insane micro skills. But alas, the pull is finished, and we see one pair of lings out and on the way, probably just to hunt down any probes that may be looking to block the third. I kind of like the boldness of this Overlord moving out, as well as this one going over the forward SimCity, if you will. Tydro not taking gas in his main just yet. He wants to get that wall up first. That is, of course, the safest thing that he can do in his present position. And I'm really curious to see how this game goes. Well, it looks like we may just have some kind of a speedling opener. Assumably, that's typically what we see whenever an extractor goes down this early in the game, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see Nomadic Carapace or Lair Tech first. We don't have our Zerg player going here, and we did actually have a couple of lings get into the main. I kind of missed that. I guess the cannon just wasn't finished in time. If not, it probably only got one shot off on them. But of course, the lings are costing Tydro mining time. If you guys look at these 5 probes, that is about 200 income less we will see Tydrokos with in the near future, as long as these lings are here. And one thing that I admire is that Tydro only pulled 5 probes to deal with this, not the entire mineral line, which is what I still see at Diamond League level play. And, you know, I mean, oh man, both of those lings got taken out, unfortunately for Zerg. But looks like Tydro is putting a few too many workers on gas again. He actually has one too many there. Yeah, just little mistakes. They kind of stack up over the course of a game. But I think Tydro, not Tydro, but our Zerg player, he should definitely be opting to take an Expo right now. I'm a little curious as to just what he's doing. He's actually going for a second gas and straight into Lair Tech while Metabolic Boost is in research. So I'm a little curious, just what are we going to see here? There's this nice little unique play that I see from Zergs doing lately. Most notably Dire Strait. It involves lots of queens, usually about 6 queens, and however many, what's the word I'm looking for, swarm hosts that can get out on Lair Tech as soon as possible. And we do see the second gas going down, but I'm just a little bit shocked at how early we see the layer coming out. And now we have the probe from Tydro. He actually got into the main, and he's going to see this. Yeah, he sees the second gas, and he does click on it again just to see how much of it has been mined, and he sees just how quickly that layer got finished. And I do want to bring to your attention the position of this Overlord. We do have a Stargate in production from Tydro, but it looks like we won't be seeing any, what's the word I'm looking for, Nidus worms going down at the front position just yet. And a Spire is being put down instead of, say, an infestation pit. So this is going to be 2 base muta, and we do have our Zerg basically throwing down a macro hatch. This means we're going to see some Lings getting cranked out as well, eventually. And the Spire is about halfway done. We have a Robotics Bay and a Stargate, both in production, so, you know, actually 2 Stargates in production. Tydro did not see the third go down, so that's why he sent the probe back into the main to see just what was up. And now he knows. So I think right now he's going to go for a more defensive kind of opener, and that defensive opener would come in the form of Phoenixes. Alternatively, he could also use the Phoenixes later in the game to basically deal with any air units. If he establishes map control, which I don't think that'll be anytime soon, he could just... there's an Overlord, an Emo Lord, excuse me. Sacrificial Overlord that's meant to go in and get a look at just what kind of tech Protoss has. And right now, this poor Zerg, he doesn't know what he's up against right now versus Tydro. I wish I had a name to call this barcode, but I don't. I guess I just call him barcode from now on. And barcode's actually opting for map control right now. He does have some Lings out on the map. Tydro tacking on more gateways, just adding more on. And he's not going to be able to break down this wall, and by he, I mean our barcode player. Alright, so an observer's out and on the way. Right now, with what we have tech-wise, our Protoss can only make Immortals and an Observer. We do have a Mothership Core on the way, and now that the Spire is finished, we have 12 Mutalisks in production. Not a single one of them is ready yet. And I'm not sure, but I don't think we'll see our barcode really over-committing to that kind of tech. We have the Overseer going in, and it finally caught wind of both of those. Changeling coming by here and catching on to both of those Stargates. One of them cranking out a Void Ray, the other one cranking out Phoenixes, and this many Phoenixes versus a dozen Mutas, I think will be more than aptly enough to deal with them. They do have the same range, but the thing is the Phoenixes get a buff versus Mutas. Yes, they do. Hang on just a second. I'm sorry, they do slightly outrange Mutas at 5 range. Mutas only have 4 range, so basically you have to trick the Phoenixes into flying into that many Mutas. And right now with 5 Phoenixes versus 5 Mutas, I think we're going to see the Phoenixes win. This is actually, this puts Tydro so far ahead if you just look at the amount of resources lost right now. And since our Zerg player isn't being too careful, there's actually some Overlords that are out of position. He might be able to use a Queen to transfuse. Yes, it looks like there's enough energy for 1 transfuse on this Queen. But of course, oh boy, this is just a lot of pain that we see our Zerg player in right now. To kind of get past this, he's actually taking an Expo, and we do have more Phoenixes coming out. And what about that Void Ray we saw in production earlier? I'm sorry. Looks like he's not ready. Tydro is ready to move out and just move into that. But Zerg is throwing down his Hydralisk Den. He's going to want to be able to hold against this, along with an Infestation Pit. I kind of think this is a bit of an overreaction, slightly, as you will either need one or the other to hold against this many Phoenixes. Phoenixes do get a buff versus Hydras, but it takes about 8 shots for a single Phoenix to kill a Hydra, and they don't shoot up, so you have to have another Phoenix nearby to kill a single Hydra. There's a forward pylon going down right here, so when that finishes, we will see, I think, maybe some offensive units being cranked out. And speaking of offensive, we do have Corruptors here, which actually outrange Phoenixes, and do, they're actually not the ideal unit for Phoenixes to take on, because Phoenixes only do 5 damage to them, because they are not light. So for now, we see our barcode player just fine. He can also see this... what's what I'm looking for, this pylon, this forward pylon ready to weapon reinforcements. And meanwhile, Tydro's just supplementing the damage that he did by taking an Expo. He's kind of got some probes that are stuck over here. There's nothing wrong with that. But for that, at the time being, he's basically safe against what we've got right here. Ling's not quite taking care of that pylon, and now we have Void Rays being cranked out. Yes, the ideal, I want to say with what we see from our Masters League Protoss, this is probably either A, his favorite style, or what is currently trending in Protoss versus Zerg and Heart of the Swarm. So for those of you who have not been playing just yet, it seems like, I want to say, airplay is being encouraged a lot more by both sides of the map in ZVP. Third finally finished for Tydro. Let's check the income right now. He is not too terribly far behind, but let me check the workers lost. He actually killed, no, his opponent actually killed 4 of his own workers at some stages throughout this game, or others. I want to say 2 of them were scouting probes. And Tydro's income is now superior to that of our Zerg player. Lots of cannons going down. He's turtling up, just being defensive. And now we have the Phoenix range upgrade coming down. That would be the Anion Pulse Crystals. And I'm a little sad to say that I haven't seen this this robotics bay really being, or excuse me, this robotics facility not really being put to use. All these overlords are really grouped up, but I mean, with that many Phoenixes out on the map, it's very difficult for Zerg to take map control, which actually makes SkyToss that much stronger against Zerg. Okay, so I can see why our Masters League Zerg was actually doing this now. He threw down the Infestation Pit as well as the Hydralisks because he knew he was going to end up facing basically a SkyToss composition eventually. We do have Pathogen Glands already finished, so any Infestors that pop now will have more than enough energy for just a single fungal growth. Actually, it'll just barely be enough energy. Yes, when they first birth out, they the fungal growths themselves only cost 75 energy. Now there's a few Zealots out on the map, and that's about it for the ground army. But Zealots is really all it takes to deal with Hydralisks at this stage in the game when they're shooting up against Void Rays. Now here we are, that's a lot of Zerglings, a lot of Corruptors, a couple of Mutas, and above all else the Hydras. Now this many Hydras versus this many Void Rays, I'm not too sure how well they will perform. There's almost double as many Hydras as there are Void Rays, and we see that our Zerg is now maxed out on supply, and he's putting down a forward spine crawler wall while simultaneously taking a 4th and a 5th base. Excuse me, his 4th is already finished. His main concern right now is getting that gas income. That is the most important thing to a Zerg army playing in ZVP. Now, one thing that we must not also neglect is the fact that these Void Rays will be corrupted. They may just have, they might have corruption spew onto them, and I'm going to say that the Phoenixes will probably be the one unit that we have to see that Tydro has to manage most carefully, because they will be extremely soft versus all of these, wow, my god, Vipers. Versus all these Vipers, Hydras, and Corruptors. So I want to say that this is an army that our Protoss cannot directly A-move into, but there is definitely plenty of room for him to attack the 4th base of our barcode. And just look at that, the spine crawlers aren't even ready. And we got to be extremely careful with this, because now there are Archons in the mix. And oh no, this is not good. Barcode is actually getting his main force kind of split up. It's kind of the engagement he did not want. He's actually getting Archons pulled into his Hydras. That was actually quite critical. That threw away his army. Many of us are not used to that. And now almost all the Corruptors are falling except these 2 in back, which did not have a chance to attack. But I want to say the one thing that worked against him most in this engagement was the Archons getting pulled into all of those Hydras. There it is, our barcode player was defeated, and Tydrokos was victorious. I think maybe if Infestors were incorporated with this composition, it would have yielded better results for barcode, but now we have Tydrokos as our victorious player. Thanks for watching, guys. This has been Breaker. I'll see you guys next time.